Hey, what's up? I'm Al Cox. I play games, make games, and everything in between. And today, we're gonna go through the game I built for the Buildbox Game Jam, CyberPunk. I think that's what I'm gonna call it. Who knows? I'm gonna see what areas I want to polish because I would like to upload this game to the App Store by the end of the week. And for this video, I'm gonna go through all the pieces and components I built up for this game jam. I made this game in 5 days. I was finished by Friday. For whatever reason, I got super busy and I submitted it 20 minutes before the deadline. Cut it close because sometimes I'm just not paying attention. Life and time gets carried away, and even submitting games at the last minute is just a lot of pressure, and hitting all the buttons to upload it can totally be confusing at times. Here's my game submission for the CyberPunk Game Jam. I will be going through my game as much detail as possible, just showing all the pieces of how things came together so we can dive in and poke around. For me, I think the best way to learn is to also teach by showing you step by step of all the things that I came up with and decided to do, where that idea came from, how I implemented it, possibly the time it took to figure all these things out, that you could also learn the process of game design and game development. That it's not, everything gets done in one sitting. It is a day by month by year progression in learning. And as we go through the game, I'm going to take note and make a Trello board of the things that I would like to complete before releasing the game in about a week, because that will help give me structure of the things that I want to do to complete next while going through the game itself to show you how all the components make up the game. And if possible, on the fly, make some adjustments. I've already thought of some ideas that I want to do. Before I jump into everything, for me, I've missed a default template right here that you could just click on it and go and create a 3D world. That is no longer in this current beta version, but hopefully we'll be back in the next beta version. I've messaged Buildbox on Twitter. They responded and sent me a message personally that this is something that they already knew about and are working on. I'm super excited that Buildbox is, open to listen to feedback. At the end of the day, I just want to make and play around in a 3D world, and this isn't easy to do that. Watch, let's just do it. Create enter new game. That was a couple clicks already. I have to click this, hit delete, grab this. I just wanted a single click option. A single click option is something Amazon made famous back in the early 2000s of how to get what you want with a single click. That's something Buildbox they say they are going to implement in the next version. I hope it's true. And so let's go and open up the latest file. Save multiple versions all the time, because each version 9, version 8, version 7, version 6, represents an incremental step forward, a new reason to save. And Buildbox crashes all the time. That's just something Buildbox loves to do. When it crashes all the time, it's always important to save. Here we see level 9A. There I made a big change, and I want that change to reflect in all my versions. So I'm going to go here and go to the latest, which doesn't have 9C, and then try to create it. Just go back in here and create that scene again. There was a cube that was long, and there were 2 of them. So just recreating the view. And then at the same time, let's go into this cube. We change the color to red. And then this cube, I'm going to remove the rotate because we don't want it to rotate. So we do want it to move in the Z axis going 15. Select this one only. Move it back a little bit. So I'm going to grab this with another level because it's kind of hard to see how it works with just... So I'm going to do that, go back here and kind of maybe make it a little bit smaller and make this one a 10 and then see how that works. And the goal is to just have those squares moving at me to like that. Cool. So that looks great. Now that we're on a new version, we need to save it. So let's go ahead and save as, and this will be CyberPunk Space Force 10, so 1-0. The next version up just signifies some kind of adjustment, not only for the scene I just created, but also this whole progress and recording. If there is any issues down the line when it crashes, then I can always refer back to a previous version if there's something missing. The first thing I want to do in this game is set up a tap to play, because when you jump into the game, you're automatically playing, and this is not what I want. I do not want you to automatically be playing. That is not my initial goal. Let's go to the mind map, and here you can see the start of the game, and this is where the Buildbox logo would be. This goes straight into the game. I did this originally because that was just easier to set up. up. But now that I have time to set things the way I would like, I want to create a UI screen, go into this and create a button, and let's grab a navigation button like this. Then this will just have it set to default, and what that does is create this right here, navigation button. So I'm going to just call this continue, and then we can also add some words to it as well. This game is going to be called CyberPunk. I might change it tomorrow, but for today, that's what it is. That's the font. I don't like it. There we go. Do this. 320 is always the middle, and then we can move this down here, and then we can click the button play, and then this will be 7.5. And yes, we just need to connect the dots. Let's start. We'll go from here. Put that up. The UI screen, which I would hope shows this. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so there's no image going on here, which is unfortunate because that's what we would like. Oh, I know what we can do. We can copy this and let go, and so this is just UI intro, and then load it here, and this UI is attached to this, and so now it'll show this game with the UI, and it'll load to the actual game. So let's take a look. And there's a crash. Good thing we saved it. Now we get to try that again. In theory, that should totally work. Let's give it a go. So when it crashes, you want to put your name down, because Buildbox support, while I don't always go to them for help, I do sometimes go to them for help. Putting this here lets them see what happened on your computer if you're messaging them directly, and I find that a lot of people do message Buildbox for directly, so having this information here is very helpful. So be sure to do that when Buildbox crashes, which it will. You can even put comments. I generally don't do this, but I'll do it right now since I'm making a video. I was just doing normal things and it crashed. That to me is super common in Buildbox, and I feel like people get very frustrated in this, and it's reasonable. Sadly, that's just common. Luckily, I know everything I did, so we're gonna go create new world UI. We'll duplicate this world, disconnect that, go into it, make sure it's like this. Even here, now I just realized I'm gonna go in here, and I'm gonna just have it just focused on this one. And I kinda wanna go in and honestly delete all these, because I feel like I don't want it to crash again. So if you wanna delete scenes, the fastest way to delete scenes is just select the last one at the very end and hit delete, and then Y. So now I'm just going to hit save, and UI screen, let's go navigation button, UI start, continue, into this button, add some font to it, Cyber 320, call this game CyberPunk 3D is the name I'm leaning towards. We're gonna load. The game is the spaceship flying, the UI load, and there it continues to the game. So now here I'm gonna save it, because this is where it crashed last time. See it in the go. So it crashed again, but we have it saved. That's good. I think it's causing it to crash. I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like it should be working. Since it crashed, I'm gonna just try it with just the UI screen. Okay, so that worked good. Now I'm curious to see if this works. Have it continue to the game over there. So that works, but when you connect them together, everything it crashes. I feel like that shouldn't be the case. So the click button's not working, but it loads to here. Let's go in here, and here we can just remove the main character. So that loads, but now I need it to load into this. Save it. Now it's working. It was not working before. Welcome to Buildbox. Sometimes it just stops working. Great, looking good. And then even set this to have it loop. Now the game starts tap to play, whereas in before it was just automatically playing. Super easy to do, minus a few bugs. Okay, cool. So what's next? Let me set this. I'm gonna label things UI intro and do it something like that. Cool. So I think a great place to start is with the character. This is the character node. Here we have the touch move, touch rotate. When you see the spaceship, it does also rotate left to the right like that. You can see. And let me check my phone, because I feel like it doesn't do that in the phone. Yeah, I don't see the rotate actually happening on the phone. So that's some inconsistencies. One Buildbox bug is that the rotate works here in the screen, but it doesn't work when you put it to your mobile phone. So that could be a problem down the line. And now this isn't closing when you hit the close button. Buildbox bugs all the time. The rotate doesn't show in the game. The move, here's the sensitivity. I have 0.5, 0.5, smoothness, input Y. And then the position limiter, I think, is also very critical and important into the gameplay, because here you can see where the player can move all the way to the right, left maximum, up maximum, down maximum, and then this is your gameplay area that you can move around. Very critical. The move makes the character move automatically, and it's going forward, going straight. This trail I just grabbed from one of the smart assets in the library. And that's one of the cool things you can do in Buildbox is you can just go in and grab other nodes. And that's what this is right here. This is a 3D model. I got the model from poly.google.com, which is just a great website. It's got lots of 3D objects, OBJ files. Just be sure to credit the author. Then here we have the if collide. This is if it collides with an enemy, then time delay, game over. And this is the event observer node. So this is what this click out button here, game over. That's super important to know. It's in the character. You should have this in the character. And then when the character hit a object, this asset gets created. And this is the debris of the character exploding into a bunch of cubes. Then I also have an if collide with the diamond. This is a send node. And this is actually super cool. And I'm glad to show you this now because it's like a sneak peek into some cool stuff. We go into the diamond and you can see diamonds are two pyramids on top of each other, two object models. Doing something like this is how I'm able to get a cube to look like this. And again, this is just multiple objects in an object. So let's go into the diamond, one triangle, another triangle, and then you have a diamond. And then this is just animation of when something happens to the diamond. So we go if collide with the rocket ship at a point, and then this send node sends a flip. So wait, let's see if that happens. Word, I might have accidentally gotten rid of the flip. Yeah. It actually sends a flip to the background. Let's find the background here. And then the rotation animation, causing it to flip. We're going to change the duration to 1 second. A lot of nodes, a lot of pieces jumping from A to B to C to D. You got to keep track of them. Not keeping track of them can be a little bit dangerous. Currently, this game is set to be endless. The goal of the game is to go through a hoop. The original idea of just going through the hoops came from the Ben Font Limited game, Rocket Board, which is a super fun game that came out around November 2018 roughly, and this game focuses more on the left-right dynamic of moving a rocket ship. It's not exactly the same, but it's the same feel and ideas. When I had the rocket ship, I first created the hoop, and here's the hoop. Here we can see a label, which I don't think I even use, so I can probably disconnect it. If collide with rocket ship, then it goes through the state machine where there's a scale animation causing the loop to just expand super big and add a point. Just looking at that, we can watch that happen in effect right here. And you can see it blink and expand once the ship goes through it. This if collide state animation scale at point, I actually got that from a smart asset. The state machine is just supposed to have the effect run one time as opposed to consistently running. The scale animation just gets really big. Even from here, these endpoints, I should actually add a delay node and then have it be removed so that it no longer takes a face. A good rule of thumb is if you have input and output, you should try to connect them where possible. So here, this is a complete connection as opposed to it just being like an open connection like this. Now it's complete, and then at the end, that object gets removed. Here we have the movement of the object, and this is just a wave. This is a wave back and forth, left or right, up or down, or bottom left to top right to bottom left. That's what the wave does. So when the hoop is created, it's subject to be hit by the rocket, the main character, and have a wave. And if it's hit by the rocket, it does an animation. The hoop scales up, adds a point. I'm just going to save it. Let's take a look at the UI screen for the actual game. And here we can put it down here so that I have some kind of pattern. We'll call this in the level UI intro. We're looking at the UI screen. We got the score. We got an event observer to pay attention for when there's a game over so that we can go to the game over UI. This is for points collected. If I decide to do it where you get 10 points to go to another level or 20 points to go to another level, this is where I would do it with the session points collected. And I can also do session points, total best points. But basically just to keep track of the player and the score, and if I get those 100 scores, then you get the level complete. The game right now is designed to be infinite, so that doesn't really apply, but it's good to know how to have a level complete if that's what I want. And that's what the point score right here is doing. And so the UI screen, level complete, and here we just have where it says level complete. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller because it doesn't really show on the screen, because when actually testing on the iPhone, the font looks too big in my opinion. So making this a little bit smaller is a better reflection of how it looks on an iPhone, because it actually gets cut off and you can't tell from this screen. Same with this. And then I feel like if I make this smaller, I also need to make all these smaller. Not by too much, but enough to just make it understood that what you see here is different than what you see on your iPhone. Which shouldn't be the case in my opinion, but due to multiple screen sizes, it is the case. And you just have to keep that in mind, that the actual gameplay is more narrow. Let's continue into the game. Let's just talk about these tiles. These are all small tiles. Let me just grab one and bring it back so you can take a look and you can see that all, like, this is one. And I just copied and pasted. It's a static image. It's physics with static. And the reason it has physics is because in the game it can't move. If it didn't have physics, then it wouldn't move. And then here's the receive node to let it flip. The rotation of 180 just flipping. There's delta duration 1. And this actually took time to make. Take a look where it's right here. So here's the texture. I wanted to zoom in on this just because here's the texture, and then I was actually going through a lot of different texture options, and let me show you those. Buildbox sometimes is a lot of trial and error, so you must be okay with that. I tried this one, this one, this one, this one, this, then here's the one that we're using. This one has a transparent background, this one doesn't. And then I was trying all kinds of different shapes and options with the textures. There's other textures, and at the end of the day, to me, it's super important to keep it simple. This is a texture I would use if I was trying to use a pyramid. Basically just exploring how the texture works. This is a cyberpunk game, and I wanted that grid line. I wanted you to look off into the distance and see the character moving with the sun and having that action happen. You're able to do that with the texture. Originally, I wanted to create like one big one, where, let's say something like this, that the game could move through, but that didn't work, and it made more sense to make almost like 50 of these. And I had tried the other texture sizes, but I just ended up going this way. Eventually you just have to make a decision, stick with it, and keep moving forward. There's a time limit on this game jam, and I made this game in 5 days, you know, not trying to like make the best game ever, just trying to make a cool cyberpunk game that makes sense to me. We have the hoops. These hoops move randomly. And next, let's go to these cubes. These are the enemy cube. This one's called enemy cube rotate, and let's take a look at this enemy cube rotate. So I actually made a custom rotate. I didn't make it, my friend made it, and he wrote some script here. You can take a look at it. I'm not an expert on it, but basically this function causes a random speed level in the X, Y, or Z direction, and this calls on that to spin at a random level. Then I think this is like from the previous code that was on the original rotate node. Essentially that there's a cube, and the cube just rotates randomly. That's what the code is supposed to do. Whereas in here, you can have a random node, and that random isn't necessarily purely random, but in a fixed rotation. So here, X at 45 and Z at 45. X at negative 45 and Z at positive 45. This isn't as random, like this is completely random. Between 1 and 100. That could be positive 100 or negative 100 for X, Y, and Z. Having something like that, pure random, just does a lot more for the gameplay. And let's take a look. So every time we see this cube, or every time we see the rotating cube, it's spinning at a random way. It's not all the same. Super important. I forgot to mention in the hoop that when you collide through the hoop, you actually speed up as well. I believe that is done in the character. So the character speeds up when going through the hoop, but now I just have to find where I have that. So this is where I know something exists in Buildbox, like going through the hoop, and it increases your speed by 10% every time, but I just don't know where I placed that. And I would think it's got to be in the hoop. Scale animation. It's going to confirm that speed does increase. Is the speed increasing? Yeah, it is. It looks like it is. Okay, so the speed is increasing. I just can't find out where I have that. Found it in the character move. You select the move, and the Z is negative 10, so it's moving away from us at negative 10 speed. And then point percentage increase per point. So each time you get a point, you get an increase of 5%, and then you can have a maximum speed increase. We don't have that, but we could. This is increased speed per second and increased speed per point. We have it set up per point, and this is how you set up increased speed per point. If I wanted to do it by second, I could also do that, but in this scenario with the hoop, it's just easier to have it by point. Next, I want to show this object, connecting multiple objects within objects. What I mean by that is, here is just a cube, but in this cube we have rectangles. And these rectangles are different. They're all connected to the bigger rectangle. And this is all done one at a time. You can see here, you got the big rectangle. Then you got these other ones with the different scale, sizes. And one by one, I was able to create almost like a filter line-like effect on these boxes. And by doing that, actually helped me create these enemies and giving these enemies just, you know, a little bit more of a unique look than just a standard square rectangle that you must avoid. Now it's a square rectangle that you must avoid with kind of like a wireframe outline that matches with the cyberpunk theme. That's just trying to bring everything together, keeping things in a similar theme. Your background with the enemy, and if I also wanted to, I should probably add something to the hoop, and maybe I'll make a to-do list on that. To-do, make hoops look more cyberpunk. So that could be on a to-do list. These are spinning randomly. You know, we can go into the node as I showed before, and they just add that nice little effect. These are rotating. Let's add a nice effect. Now, sometimes the character does touch the objects and it doesn't get destroyed. The collision isn't perfect, but it's good enough for now. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We got atom points. I didn't use this. I might have used the animation. These are some enemy cube objects that I don't really use. This is the sphere that's in the very back. So this is fun. This sphere is in the back, and it's kind of supposed to be like the sunset in all cyberpunk themes or videos that listen to synthwave on. It's the sun in the background that you're always moving to. This is fun. Look, the movement of this has the same speed as the character, so it moves, and then each time you get a point, it also increases in speed, so you can never actually reach it, and the only place that exists is at the very start. If you look at all the other scenes, there's no sun to chase, so that's kind of a cool thing to know what's happening in the background. Where we got asteroids. I did have the character shooting asteroids, and at the end I didn't like the way the mechanic worked because it would destroy everything that's like super far away, and I only wanted it to destroy things that were really close. Basically, I was playing with the timing mechanism. It didn't feel right, so I just removed it because I have a feeling that less is more. Here we have the debris cube. When the spaceship hits an object, this debris cube is what it spawns. It spawns random colors at a spectacular intensity. This is what's created. And next, the hit cylinder. The hit cylinder, I was just trying to take some of these components. Let me show you what the hit cylinder does. Here you can see the hit cylinder does a lot of cool things and explodes. I think I took that explosion, I added it to the hoop, and again I was trying to do something where you hit an asteroid 5 times and then it would disappear. Because I made this game in 5 days, I just didn't have the time to fully think out the hitting asteroid 5 times with your bullet disappear piece, so I didn't really use it. I took out some pieces from it maybe. This is an object I made in Blender. You can make 3D objects and they look cool like this, and you know, you can rotate these 3D objects that the ship flies through. Was the goal in creating this. The name of the game, now when you play, you can see this. It should say Cyberforce. I think that's the name I'm going to deal with. And even looking at this, I feel like I can move the character down at the start scene. This like this, right down like this, save. Oh, you know what? That doesn't help in the actual. Let's do this. We'll move this to 2.5, and then we can actually go here into this. Nope, not the UI. This intro game, just this, and grab this guy and move him 2.5. Yeah. I almost want to see if we can do it like on touch. Yeah, okay, so that's good. Good enough. And then at the end of the day, I just went and created these levels. Take a look. All a little random. Objects in the path. These cubes go up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right. And I created 2 of them. These are all rotating. So you go here and then the game over UI. Thanks for following along as I break down the Cyberforce game. I'm gonna take the next 5 to 7 days, try to polish everything, record that process as well. Be sure to check out the game when it's out. Thanks for following along. Hope this was helpful. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know how it's going. How long have you been using the software? What are your thoughts? Previous experience making games? All that good stuff. And until next time, I will see you later. Peace. Thanks for watching.